you have misaligned incentives, or when you believe too much in yourself, or whatnot, that's like you make all these poor choices, right? You invest in crypto, or like FTX, or whatever else, because of ego, or because of misaligned incentives, or whatever the case is. And so, it's just listening to him talk is amazing. One of my biggest takeaways from that is, he looked at me and he's like, let me see if I can do my best Charlie Munger correctly. Like, Wesley, he's like, I don't understand why people don't understand time horizon when they invest. And he goes, I don't know what that means. He's like, time horizon is the most important thing on the planet when you're making your decision. Like, every judgment, every call, every decision is critical to understand time horizon. If you're a guy on death row and you eat 4 lobsters and 8 ice cream pails, that's a good decision. But if you're like if you're thinking you're gonna live a long life and you're not about to be executed tomorrow, it's not your last meal, eating that meal, it's a terrible decision. Time horizon. He goes, the people who optimize for time horizon today and the people who optimize for time horizon 20 years from now, very, very different in terms of how good the decision is or how wise the decision is. You have to understand your time horizon. My time horizon is 10 years, right, or more for my venture fund. I invest in founders long term. I did the investment in Cliff and Mel 7.5 years ago when it was, when nobody thought it was worth anything. I may have overpaid for it now, but today I look like a genius, right? Because my time horizon on investment was 10 plus years. We look at our founders, the mission-driven founders, we might overpay, every mission-driven founder always thinks their company is way more valuable than any investor thinks it is, right? Because they see the future, and every investor sees why it can't happen. Every investor says, like, oh, this is all the risk, it's not gonna happen, so let me discount it. And every investor is absolutely, every mission-driven founder is absolutely 100% sure that their goal is gonna happen, right? So there's always this valuation difference, and I'm happy to do that because, again, my time horizon is 10 plus years, and having that breakfast with Charlie Munger helped me crystallize that understanding. It's like, you can eat that lobster if you're gonna be executed tomorrow, but most people won't, so the time horizon matters.
It's a great segue to my last question, which is, before I open it to the audience, there's a lot going on in the world right now. When you think about the next 100 years, what are you excited about?
The easy answer is it's not meant for me to be excited, right? When I started at Google, I didn't know what search really was, right? I'm like, oh, it's like a simple search engine. And nor did I ever have this vision, this belief or understanding that Google would be a television or a media distribution channel or a phone company, right? They make phones, or that Google would be have one of the most popular email services on the world or one of the largest ad networks. None of that was ever evident to me when I started, nor did I know that would ever come true. Larry had this amazing vision where he said, our mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible. I can still recite that 23 years, and 7 years after I left. It was such a compelling vision that he said, I want to go make that happen. And he would describe this thing where, Google would one day be smarter than your brain, would know what you wanted before you wanted it. And he goes, whatever we can do, whether it's TV, it's ads, it's Gmail, it's phones, Android, whatever, we will do it. Even cars that know where you want to go before you know where you want to go, because we've been able to figure out what you typed in on your maps. You don't have to tell us. I mean, it's a scary vision, but truly, it's now a 1 or 2 trillion or whatever the valuation is. It's bigger than when I joined. I think that's what I get excited about is when I meet somebody with that mission, right? Like I don't know what the future holds, but I know that there are people that are here. There are people that are, I'm about to meet at some point that will say, this is the future, and I believe in it, and I believe in it so much that I'm willing to go cut up every one of my credit cards and put myself on the line and be okay with failure to go achieve this and have the world think I'm an idiot. That's what I look for, right? That's what I get excited about, is not what is 100 years from now, because who am I to predict that, right? I screwed that one up, Google predicted it for me. My job is to find the people, and that's what excites me every morning, is to be able to wake up and hear Mel's vision for the future, or hear Jake's our newest company, TX, which is building a reinvention of mRNA, so they can now use mRNA to deliver cancer drugs, because the mRNA is able to express itself in the tumor rather than everywhere in your body, which is only used for vaccines. So it's generation 2. That's the type of future that I care about, is when a founder comes and tells me these things. So that's my non-answer to your question.
Thank you so much. How many minutes do we have for Q&A?
10 minutes.
I talk too fast.
Please.
Yes. It was fantastic to hear you talk and hear you share your wisdom. So I'm an investor, and I think I'm humble enough to understand that sometimes in investing it's difficult to distinguish between luck and skills. So borrowing a page from Mel and Phil, can you talk about some of your most memorable failures? And looking back, how different are those decisions compared to the one that lead to your spectacular successes?
So the way to answer that question is, did I know at the moment when I made the investment it would be a genius? And the answer is absolutely not. So, so I ran this one experiment over a year. I said, like, look, I'm going to write down, I'm going to invest in a bunch of companies, right? I'm going to write down, at the moment when I did it, is it going to be a genius or not, right? And then I'm going to basically then look at it, and do I adjust my check size to reflect whether I think it's a genius investment? Obviously, if I think it's a genius investment, I'll put 10 times the amount of money in. And if it's I don't know, you're a nice person, here's a check, let's let it ride. You put a tiny amount of money in, right? And it still turned out that every one that I thought would be a genius investment that I put the most amount of money in turned out to be zero. And all the ones that I was like, oh, I don't know, but you're a nice guy, or whatever reason I did it, friends said the guy was the most amazing option value. Turned out to be like the first check in the Flexport, right? That was the one that I wished I put 10x the money in and so forth. So there's a lot of luck in my business. You just have to be humble enough to know what the luck is and what discipline that you have, that you may not know more than you think you do at that moment.
So you keep a decision log so that you can look back and see if it was a good decision on your part or it was just luck.
Yeah, you always look back. I mean, I helped start Google Analytics. It's all about gathering the data and understanding the insights on it. And so, I think that's the piece that I have. That, even though I know I'm not smart enough to predict at the moment whether it be a genius investment or not, right? That's why you create a portfolio as an investor. You take a lot of risk. And I'm in a business where 90% of my decisions are failures, right? If I was a doctor, I'd kill a lot of people, which so thank God I'm not. But that's literally the most important thing is that you know what you don't know in this business, you understand what you don't know, and you make sure that you create a portfolio that allows you to manage for the risk and hope that you find that one Canva.
Let's take a question from the audience and then we'll go back. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so 2 questions. The first one...
You get 1 question.
Yeah. like companies like Google want to invest in as many fields as they want, create an ecosystem. Companies like Apple wanted to keep an ecosystem, and Google wants to open up the ecosystem. So how does a founder want to decide whether you want to open up to everything, or you wanted to have something which is very close network, something an ecosystem or a network?
Yeah. So I think the question is, open or closed ecosystem, which founders should go after, right? And my answer is you work with both ecosystems, right? Like people launch an Android and have an open one, and then you can't ignore the App Store, even though it's closed. So you have to go into both of those. And to the degree that you can be as flexible as possible and make sure that you can work with all ecosystems, which kind of is an open one in itself, you have the most flexibility in doing what you want to go do.
Microphone?
You can
Yeah.
go.
Repeat the question.
Thank you for being here. And I really like grit. When I studied positive psychology at Penn, one of my professors was Angela Duckworth, who popularized grit, which is basically long-term resilience for a long-term goal. And I've always been interested in the intersection of grit and entrepreneurship. And so I've asked a lot of people, when do you quit? And I had the privilege of meeting Bob Langer, who created one of the COVID vaccines, co-founder of Moderna. And I said to Bob, when do you quit? And he said, never, 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 never. When I met him a second time, I asked the question again. And he said, only when someone beats me to it, like a competitor. So on behalf of the 15 students and all the audience that we have here, we have a lot of young entrepreneurs. When do you think they should quit?
I think the answer is never. So, but the nuance, the answer to your question is that the best founders are like heat-seeking missiles, right? They don't quit, they just adjust. So Larry was that way too. There were many things that we tried out at Larry, that we tried out at Google, right? That never worked out and never saw the light of day. And some of them, we have a short memory, but like Google Wave, billions of dollars, or Google Plus, it wasn't a quit, it's just we're going to adjust it and adapt the strategy. Google never shut down and said, oh, like we screwed up on Google Wave, let's shut the company down. But that's the portfolio approach, and that's the best founders have a portfolio approach to understanding what works in the experiment. Well, I was fortunate enough, I was Sergey's chief of staff for 5 years, and so I was fortunate enough to be coached by Bill Campbell to help Sergey succeed. And one of the things that Bill taught Google, and that would coach Larry and Sergey is like, they said, you gotta embrace failure at this company, right? Tell everyone they're allowed to make the $1 million mistake. And if you make 10, 20, $50 million mistakes, your loss will be at $1 million each, $50 million. But you make those mistakes so that when the $1 billion opportunity comes, you don't make the $1 billion mistake, right? So this isn't about quitting, it's really about figuring out what the $1 million mistakes are. If they wind up doing mistakes, so that when the $1 billion opportunity comes and you're ready to go double down, triple down, and quadruple down, like you're ready to go do that because you've learned so much from it. That's what the best founders I've been able to work with, the Cliff and Mel's at Canva, Josh Reeves at Gusto, the founders of Plaid, they figure out the $1 million mistakes so that they don't have to quit, they just learn and adjust and move and find that $1 billion opportunity to double down on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we're out of time. Thank you,
All right.
Wesley.
Thank
for
you.
sharing.
It's a honor to be here.